Hi everyone, this is Title Lich here and welcome to another episode of online multiplayer battle replay. This is from a quick battle fighting against the Tomb Kings as the Norscan, and yeah, let's see how this battle goes. Now let's have a look at the army builds. For the Norscan side, controlled by yours truly, we have a line of Marauder Berserkers. These guys lightly armored, but with their devastating charge and weapon strength, as well as that melee attack, they can cut down hundreds and hundreds of skeletons, swords, spears, whatever they did. And we also have Icehorn Marauders. These guys, perfect vigor, immune to psychology, good leadership, definitely can hold much longer than your typical Norscan Marauders. At the back, a couple Marauder Hunters with Javelins, great for just hunting down the Tomb King's constructs. As for mobility, a couple Marauder Horsemen in the front, Beast of Tashnar, Norscan Ice Wolves, and a couple Skin Wolves. As for the leadership, Skin Wolf Werekin, Familiar Balefiend with Fire, and this is a rather rare sighting, but we actually have a Marauder Chieftain here. With the item Flaming Axe of Cormac, he can actually produce some pretty good damage against Tomb King's leadership, especially with that imbuing fire damage attribute right there. They can do some pretty nice damage to Tomb King's leaders that are mostly weak to fire. Let's say here, High Queen Khalida, 25% fire weakness. So yeah, as for the Tomb King's build, we have a whole line of skeleton warriors and spears with some tomb gods to back them up. In the middle, we have the Kepra Guard, Regiment of Renown, damage dealing anti-infantry um, tomb guard with their dual Kopash and regeneration. They can do some serious damage against your typical marauders. And of course, Tomb Kings, the best unit on their roster are definitely Ushabtis with great bows. We have three of them. One of them, the Chosen of the Gods, with a scatter shot, great for anti-infantry role, and also great for hunting down large monsters like, say, the Mammoth, because the scatter shot just hits home when your target is that big. As for the rest of them, backline protection, we have some skeleton spears, just a box formation with a slight layer of skeleton speed bumps. And leadership, High Queen Khalida, as well as a Lich Priest of Nehekara Lore. The names are a little bit too long, so I'm not going to read them all out, but definitely there to buff up the damage of their units. So yeah, that's basically it for the army builds. Let's get a battle started. So yeah, of course, right off the bat, the Ashaptis are shooting into the Marauder Horsemen, who are now trying to juke the shots. And as for the whole time being, the main infantry line just started pushing up. Compared to the Tomb King's infantry, the Norscan infantry is much more narrow, um, and also more prone to those Ushapti fire because they have just much more elite units. And as you can see, the Chosen of the Gods are raining down shots into the Marauder Berserkers, doing some hefty damage. These guys without any armor is really prone to missile fire. But thankfully we have the Skin Wolf Werekin here, using that Ruinous Flesh to buff up that metal, provide some 11% missile resistance, as well as a tiny bit of armor, just so they can sustain in combat for a little longer, even if they're under some serious fire pressure. And right now, the mobility units are just circling around the back line, seeking gaps in the Tomb King's infantry, and just trying to sneak in and tie down the missile units of the Tomb Kings. As you can see, the Beast of Tashnar with their anti-large bonus is still not doing too much damage on the Ushaptis because of the high armor, but that's fine. They're just there to tie down the Ushaptis, and now with the support of High Queen Khalida, Skeleton Spears, Lich Priest coming in, they're not really doing it. They're basically routed, terrified at this point. But good news is the skeleton warriors are no match for our elite berserkers, and they just punch straight through the fragile front line of the Tomb Kings, and now going into the back line with the whole hero corps just charging into the fray, crashing into Kepra Guard. These tattered Marauder berserkers, tattered as they are, still manage to get into combat and now cutting down Kepra Guard, who is now already down to half health. And at the back lines, some Skin Wolves circle around along with the Norsca Ice Wolves, punch straight into the battle against some Ushabtis, stopping these guys from firing as well. And with the anti-large damage, they can do some pretty nice damage against some Ushabtis. An Ice Burner Head going down the line, roasting some Blessed Legions, as well as some Skeleton Spears, but sadly also terrified, routed these Ice Wolves. But yeah, right now the Tomb King's front line is basically in tatters. The only resistance are the Tomb Gods and the Summoned Ushabti, who is actually getting cut down by some Marauder Berserkers, hilariously. In the middle, the Cavalry Guard is really tattered, and no longer impose any resistance, so the heroes are free to roam. As you can see, they're punching into backline. The Chieftain going straight for High Queen Khalida, taking a chunk out of her health. While the rest of the Skin Wolves are just, as well as the Skin Wolf Werekin, are just kind of duking it out with whatever target they can find their hands on. High Queen Khalida comes back and punted the Familiar Balefane out of the engagement, but the problem is the Skin Wolf Werekin is now on the hunt. Being a large target, large unit, it can just push straight through the Skeleton Spears, and is now using his anti-large armor-piercing damage, going after the High Queen Khalida booty. And yeah, without the presence of a front line, the Marauder Hunters are now free to fire into chugging their javelins into the Ushabti with great bows, just really whittling them down, along with the support of the Marauder Chieftain using his pretty good combat stats to just really work down these Ushabtis. At the back here, High Queen Khalida is getting chased by Skin Wolf Werekin and getting eventually worked down as well. Being a large target and having her back face against the Skin Wolf, things are not looking good. Down to 108 something health. We see her getting her last legs over here and getting hit in the back once again, and there goes the High Queen. And basically, that's basically it for the Tomb King's army, as the leadership's gone. Some Marauder Horsemen and the Chieftain are now tying down the Chosen of the Gods, just sending in the javelins into the bullseye, just really working down the remaining damage dealer unit, who is also cannot really deal much damage because of the melee situation. A Burning Head goes down the line on these skeleton blobs, and basically there goes army losses. And yeah, that's basically it. Now let's have a look at the post-battle screen. For the Norscan army, the front line did okay. The Berserkers didn't really do too much damage here, not really covering their worth. But the main thing is they cleared out the Tomb King's front line, allowing the Marauder Hunters to push in despite their shorter range. They can reach the Ushabti with great bows and using their anti-large javelins to work down the Tomb King's construct. That is basically these guys clearing the front line, allowing the Marauder Hunters to earn back the value for them. Icehorn Marauders, being a solid Marauder unit, actually earned back their value, and yeah, did really well. As for the mobility, they didn't really do too much here. Mostly there to just harass the back line, getting into the face of the ranged units of the Tomb Kings and preventing them from shooting, and mostly did their job decently. So there's that. But of course, the MVP this round is definitely the Skin Wolf Werekin, providing that missile resistant buff for the units nearby, allowing the Berserkers to take a little bit more damage before actually going into combat, so allowing the Berserkers to sustain a little longer, and while himself being an absolute beast in melee, literally. No pun intended, going after Khalida, trashing every single infantry in his vicinity, using that anti-large armor-piercing damage to work down Khalida. Yeah, a really, really solid unit overall. Balefane, a lot of kills, not a lot of value, but of course they're just mostly roasting skeletons, so there's that. the Marauder Chieftain didn't really do too much damage here, but as a solid combat unit, he did his job. Going after whatever vulnerable unit there is, tying down the Ushabti in the end, give a little bit chip damage on Khalida. So overall, pretty solid stuff. As for the Tomb Kings, we have a bunch of skeletons who are basically skeletons, not much to talk about. These guys, these skeleton spears probably tie down the somewhere Skin Wolf in the beginning or in the middle of the game, so it got some decent value. As the Skin Wolf, without the protection of armor, will take a lot of anti-large damage if tied down by spears. Tomb Gods, these Tomb Gods, none of the Tomb Gods did too spectacularly. These Kepler Guard got almost 800 value, but they themselves cost more than that. So not exactly great. Considering they have to engage Berserkers, yeah, that's pretty much the case, as Tomb Guard, not exactly a highly armored unit. So facing something like 50 plus weapon strength from the Marauder Berserkers, they will still take considerable damage, especially that weapon strength will be further buffed by that anti-infantry bonus. So yeah, as for the Missile Corps, didn't really did the job they needed because, well, Chosen of the Gods did really well, with the Scatter Shot just destroying the Berserkers and shooting into whatever juicy blobs they can find, but the problem is just not enough to carry the game. Khalida got some solid value out of hitting the Norscan characters, but with Skin Wolf Werekin on her tail, that can regenerate as well, she definitely can't do a 1v1 against Skin Wolf. As for the Lich Priest, I think he dropped some damage dealing buffs on the missile units, but as you can see, the missile units got totally swarmed, and without that kind of safe space to actually output the damage, yeah, not much can be said about his buff. So yeah, that basically wraps up today's replay, and I hope you enjoy it. If you do, please hit the like and subscribe button, and as I will be uploading regularly on topics covering from tips and strategies for multiplayer, builds, or just general battle replays. And yeah, I would really appreciate your support, and yeah, that's basically it. I hope you enjoyed the video, thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Tactical Lich signing out.